Hello and welcome to the KaineKast Codpast with me, Alex Odinson. I've also got Rage and Liam with me this week. So, have you guys had a busy week?
It's getting busier, but I wouldn't say it's busy. How about you, Rage?
Pretty busy, yeah. Well, we'll get on to the band news because I've been quite busy with band stuff, but obviously...
Yeah, this is all going to be exciting. That's going to be the bulk of this week's show, I'd imagine, because there's just so much to talk about in terms of band stuff.
Yes.
Have you guys had much time to listen to any music this week, then?
I've basically just... the last couple of days, I've been on a massive King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard binge.
I think I saw on Spotify.
Huh?
I think I saw on Spotify you pop up on the right-hand side when I open it on my computer.
Why?
Because it does that, doesn't it? It's connected to Facebook.
Shows what people listen to, yeah. We can see what you're listening to, Liam.
Always.
Yeah. Always.
It's not like the good old days where it would post to your timeline what you were listening to. And I think I told you guys this story, but yes. I was driving somewhere with Chris, and he's like, "Oh, you can just man the Spotify if you like." So I chucked Gary Glitter on, and at first he's laughing, ha ha, very funny. Then he goes, "Fuck, it's posted to my timeline," and of course his whole Facebook timeline is just listening to Gary Glitter. So yeah, he doesn't do that anymore.
No, he doesn't let you man his Spotify.
No, it doesn't post to your timeline.
You can dirty your own timeline with it.
Well, I do that all the time anyway. Yeah.
Oh God, I dread to imagine what's going on that timeline.
To be honest, my Spotify is fairly straightforward. I'm just listening to thrash music at the moment. I just heavy stuff, just bollocks, really.
Yeah, I was on. It's funny actually because the whole listening to nothing but King Gizzard for the last 2 days is coming right off the back of a massive kind of death metal streak.
Yes, so most of the stuff you've been sending me over the last couple of months has been either the death or black metal.
It's where all the best new releases are at the moment.
There's a lot of really exciting stuff coming from the sort of really heavy end of music at the moment.
Yeah, it is. That's sort of where it's at the moment for new releases in terms of like the best ones. Yeah.
I've had a bit of a quiet week when it comes to actual music this week. I've been focused quite heavily on listening to the Louis Theroux podcast that he's been putting out during lockdown, which I've found really interesting. He's been talking to celebrities, getting the dirt, and just being a bit cheeky in the way that Louis Theroux is. So it's been really interesting. So I've been listening to a lot of that whilst I've been going to the gym, really.
He really needs to do a documentary on us. I think that would be so good.
I would love to see that. Either that or a feature-length documentary on furries. I want to see Louis Theroux do the furries.
That's about time someone got up close and personal with the...
Yeah, and I think Louis Theroux is the man for the job. I've tweeted him about it and he didn't even respond. So, Louis, if you're listening,
I think
now's
maybe
your time.
He's one of them. Maybe he's got a mascot fetish. He likes to dress up as Super Mario and jump around.
If he
blocks.
was to do a documentary about them, I reckon he would. I reckon he'd put on a fursuit and he'd get really into it, like he does when he's off seeing swingers and whatnot.
Yeah. Good job he doesn't get into all the things that he...
Well, he gets skin-led, doesn't he?
He's been with some dodgy people.
Yeah, he's done some really dodgy documentaries, to say the least.
Yep.
Shall we have a look at the comments on the last week's KaineKast and rehearsal session?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So you've got one from David Green responding to your ghost story, saying that he's been to Red Bull a whole bunch of times. He knew the sofa story, but didn't know much about the aftermath or even the ghost. Great fun episode.
Well, I'm glad we've enlightened him to the spookiness of Red Bull.
Dom Not a Tory's got in touch again, and he said only record at crack dens if you're doing trap music or doing chopped and screwed stuff.
Okay. Well, we were, obviously. Guillotine is massively trap, whatever that is. What is trap music? It's when you fall down the...
It's absolute
fall through
fucking
stuff.
shit.
Like that's what the trap is. It's the trap where he just like
you
trips
press
down
a
a
button
hole
and someone drops through the floor.
I think the actual thing, isn't it like there's a big build up and it's supposed to be like, you know, a massive kind of section of the song, and then it just completely
Collapses.
I think
it doesn't
it's
go anywhere,
like heavy
just collapses.
electronic rap music.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, no, I
it's
won't
not
listen to that.
really my thing, but
It's
I would never
fucking
want to listen to
terrible.
that shit.
It's
Okay,
terrible.
Fair enough. No, I don't want to do that.
and then Dylan's just said amazing video, loved the content.
Definitely a bot.
Cheers, Dylan.
Definitely a bot. Look, what's his name? Dylan Altworth. He sounds like he'd be on a war crimes trial, doesn't he?
Over on the rehearsal video, we've only got one comment that we've not yet responded to, because the other ones we spoke about last week. But Christian Towalski has said, sounds kind of death and roll, but with more roll and less death. So I guess it's more like hard roll with death.
Not a clue.
No, I suppose he likes a Royale with cheese.
Okay.
Even less clue than with the trap stuff. What the hell is death and roll?
I assumed it was
6
what
feet under.
Alligators do when they jump out of the water. That's a death
Maybe
and
it's
roll,
a new
isn't it?
Greg's pasty. Death and roll. It's so loud it deafens you when you bite into it. It's a death and roll.
I love it. We've got some big updates in the world of Kaine. Should we get straight into some of those?
Should we start with the biggest one?
Yeah, let's start with the
Biggest one, which is the...
Yes.
So we're now with Bonewood Music. They're our management company. We've been talking to them for a couple of weeks. We decided to sign with them on Sunday night, and we have now officially signed with them. The contract's in. So that's an update from earlier this week.
How did that come about?
And we've been scouted, in effect, and they were looking for a band that does what we do, and obviously we're looking for a management company to take us to sort of the next level and help build us up for the new album. Something we've needed pretty badly in the last few years, because I can only take the band so far on my own.
Well,
so
you kind of need to put your efforts into being a front man and let somebody else do the boring background stuff.
Well, I'm still doing the boring background stuff. It's a combined effort, really. I mean, he has the contacts that I don't within the music industry wider. He has a different perspective on how to promote music. He's got a lot of, good contacts throughout the business, and so we're signed with them for 6 months, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
With all these things, there's a gamble, there's a risk, there's a cost involved. This isn't free. This isn't we don't get paid to be on this. This is something we're paying for. But then again, we're paying for something, we want to see results as well. So it works both ways.
Yeah, of course.
And again, it's just one of those things we have to kind of step up and attempt at this
Do you
stage.
know much about any of the other bands that are signed to them currently?
And not a whole lot. I have looked, and it seems to be going reasonably well for them. So I'm optimistic. But a lot of people will see the post about us being signed to the management deal and assume that's it. It's done deal. There's still a lot of work to do. We still got to get an album out to a good level, and we still got to be able to perform at the best level we can. And again, I'm still going to be doing a lot of the nitty gritty stuff. He's just going to be approaching possibly labels, possibly booking agents, possibly getting us on tours, as well as designing how we're going to release the next album in a sort of project sense. So it's going to be different this time, and it's an opportunity. The last time we had professional management, I've gone on and on about it on here. For all of its negativity, it did bring us up into the limelight in a way we've never been at since. And obviously, we got booked on 2 tours off the back of that management.
Yeah.
We obviously got to play Wildfire Festival off the back of that management, and things started to really progress. And because of just having somebody in the industry that people know and is talking about you helps. And I know it's not the way it should work because it's not fair, but that is the way it does work, and we have to play by the rules that are in front of us, really. We can't sort of circumvent this. This is how the business works. So this is why we've teamed up with Bonewood, which I also think is quite a hilarious name for childish reasons.
I was hoping that you were going to be the one to make that joke.
Fuck's sake.
Others have. I know. Yeah, it is funny. It is. I can't deny that.
Does that mean
So,
that the
anyway,
next album's going to have Bonewood written on it somewhere?
we may well have Bonewood written on it somewhere.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it's a huge opportunity. It might well peter out to nothing. We don't know. This isn't guaranteed. Nothing in music is.
No.
And certainly at my age and this stage in my career as a musician, I have to take, some radical steps to try and move things forward. Because without being disrespectful, I don't want to be playing pubs for another 30 years. I'm looking to do some bigger and better stuff. So it's a good opportunity, and we'll see how it pans out. We've got a new album coming out. It's the perfect time to teaming up with someone who's got that insight and that contact and everything else. So I'm optimistic, but again, just so people know, it's not a done deal in the sense that we're not going to become instantly successful. It could be a failure.
No.
He may well do everything he can, but the people in the music industry might take a listen to it and go, well, that's a pile of shit, but we'll find out in 6 months whether it's worth it or not, and we can revisit it.
Liam, you are going to be tracking drums soon. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, next weekend. It's next weekend, isn't it?
Is it the 21st?
Yeah, 21st. I'll go down there. That's the point, actually. I've still got to ask work if I can finish early so I can get down there.
Yeah.
But yeah, tracking on the 21st, going through to the 22nd. We'll be packing up then. Not the 22nd, the 23rd, sorry. So Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And in between that, playing the Ipswich gig. So
how are you feeling about that?
About the gig itself, or playing after doing a whole day of recording?
Both. Let's say both.
Well, I mean, I think everyone knows how excited I am just to get back on stage again. So that's I cannot wait for that. But the one thing I am not looking forward to is a whole day of recording and then playing a gig. But then again, I did that for I remember I did that after recording Reforged.
Yeah, we were talking about that last week, weren't we?
Yeah, we were, yeah.
I think it is an exciting thing because obviously we've got the scratch tracks all up now. Wayne, who's going to be doing the recording at Unit 1, he's got all the scratch tracks and he's sort of building the projects. So it's all ready to go. We're at we're ready to record the new album, which is exciting. It's we've got 9 tracks. Probably our fastest and heaviest album yet, I'd say. So
excellent.
I'm really excited about. I'm really excited about this. This could be, this is going to be a great album. I know it is. It's going to be
something big.
Yeah, this is going to be our best album, and it's only going to get better. So I'm excited just to get it down, get it started. And unlike I've mentioned this before, we're not going to be travelling about because of the COVID stuff. So we're doing it closer to home this time, and I'm going to be
that must be quite nice actually, not having to travel across the other end of the country and have to stay in dodgy hotels and whatnot.
Yeah, it is going to be much nicer, especially from a sleep perspective, because that really does
come back and crash out in your own bed.
It does help. It does, because the downside to recording away from home is obviously you don't get the same night's sleep as you do and whatever else. So this will be better from that perspective. But equally, we're not going to be going up and down and spreading coronavirus all over the place. So it's sensible. It serves many purposes, this move, and in terms of the production, I'm going to be overseeing that this time, so it's going to be very different from our previous 2 albums. It's a shame that we've had to change the team on our production because it was a good team, but unfortunately circumstances have changed, so we're going to have to try and do it a different way.
Trying to sort of make ends meet, I guess, and work with what we've got.
Which is just me.
It's going to sound great. I'm really excited.
It's still going to be...
Now, our favourite mouth-breathing Australian is back with his account of our alleged Codpast infringement. Have you guys heard the follow-up that he did about us back in February?
Yeah, I listened to it. I mean, the guy is clearly very upset with us, and I'm still waiting for the lawyers to come in and really sort of
rough us up.
take us to task. Yeah, we've not had any legal contact at this stage. But the thing is, he's called the KaineKast, whereas we're the KaineKast Codpast.
I was going to say that,
What's his issue?
I did a little bit of research on him, and it turns out his show is actually a comedy podcast, which means that he definitely should have realised that we were being a bit tongue-in-cheek when we suggested that he was going to sue us.
I mean, maybe. I think he might well try and sue us still. I think he thinks he's being funny, but at the end of the day, you know, these sort of accusations we take very, very seriously.
We do.
I can't even get through that. I don't know what his problem is. He clearly doesn't understand the joke.
No.
He's still very angry. You can look him up on Spotify for those who are listening who want to laugh. It's so like those British bastards saying, what's the thing called?
It's British people and people that share the same podcast name as me. See,
Love it.
The worst thing that I think he said in that entire 10-minute tirade was the spurious claims that he made that I've only seen one episode of The Simpsons. That really upset me.
It's because you know the Australian episode of The Simpsons.
It's the only
old
episode I've
Doos.
ever seen.
Yeah, whereas the only episode I've ever seen is the one where Homer Simpson drives his car into the garage.
Liam, what's your favourite?
He does it
episode of
every
The
time.
Simpsons?
Liam?
Yeah, did you just completely zone out
You talking
then?
to me there, sorry. I
Is
guess
this
I
because
did.
you don't want to be sued?
I don't know what my favourite Simpsons episode is.
Is it the one
actually.
where Homer drives into the garage
Yes.
of his car?
Who's your favourite Australian?
Yes. 1,000% yes.
I like the one with the Australians in it.
What, Peter Jackson?
Yeah, Peter Jackson. Have you noticed he went from like super size to super slim?
Okay.
Yeah, he was a big guy, and now he's a skinny guy.
He must have been sponsored by Subway.
Is that how it works? Because I thought it was the other way round. I thought if you ate Subway, you got super sized.
Well, you remember the
not
whole
remember
Jared
the,
Fogle thing?
One at a time, guys. I ain't got a clue what you just said.
Yeah, we basically said the same thing then. Do you remember that bloke that was supposedly sponsored by Subway for losing like a shit ton of weight really, really quickly, and he claims that he'd only been eating Subway and nothing else, and then it turned out he was a paedophile.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, like years after that campaign, yeah, it turned out that he was a
just a
paedophile. Yeah,
raging nonce.
my favourite part about like the whole original campaign was the South Park episode on
I
it.
knew you were going to say that.
oh yes, no, I can kind of remember.
And he's got AIDS.
The Jared has AIDS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they take it to a level that I agree with. I support them entirely. South Park is basically my brain in visual form.
Yeah. So Kaine turned 3 today,
We did.
or this lineup turned 3, I should say.
It's been a pretty crazy 3 years in many respects. We came together in a fortnight.
Played our first gig, the week after that
yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
something like that.
That was at the B2, wasn't it?
Yeah, with Osmin Guillotine and Andy
Yes.
Martin, otherwise known as Gent.
Yes.
Otherwise pronounced as Gent, but preferably Gent.
Or Gunt.
So, yeah, that was a fun gig. Dan jumped up and did some songs with us. So yeah, that was our introduction to the world of gigging, and we've just been on a sort of non-stop work ever since. We've done an album, 2 live albums, 2 EPs, and we're just about to do another album, and another EP. So we've been very busy in those 3 years.
Yeah, incredibly so. I put something up on the Kaine Facebook group earlier today just to get a bit of an idea from some of the fans and listeners to sort of try and find out what some of their favourite moments were, because I thought it's fine to talk about our moments, but it's really about them. what interested them. Chris Stewart has said he loved Reforge The Steel, but he's yet to see this particular lineup live, which I think he's hoping to do this year.
He has said he's going to be at the Leicester Leicester gig. So
well, there has been a pandemic in between it, so if you haven't seen us, we do forgive you, because
it's
obviously
probably the most forgivable reason for not seeing you guys live yet.
So yeah, it's kind of got in the way of things.
we'd have had the album out already if it
true.
wasn't
Yeah,
for
we've
the
had two
pandemic.
albums up by now.
David Green said that his favourite thing was the Dudley Tesco trolley, which I've got to ask about. What happened with that? What's that about?
I did see that. That's a very uninteresting story. So we turn up at the venue, and they were kind of awkward about the loading.
Yeah,
That's not strange. Venues tend to be awkward about loadings.
Yeah, that's pretty
and
standard.
eventually the lass behind the bar opened up the back door to get us through.
Yeah.
And as we were in the car park, there was just was it a B&M trolley, Liam, or something like that?
Yeah, it was a shopping trolley of some kind.
Just in a bush. I was like,
yeah, and while we were unloading my car, it's just like, well, this is going to make life a whole lot easier.
So we just dumped it in that and pushed it because it was kind of on a hill, the venue.
Yeah.
And then we played with Prometheum that night, but unfortunately, it's one of those gigs where there was tons of people at the venue, but none of them watching the bands.
Until Prometheum's encore, when they all decided to come
the
in.
last song. There is actually a funnier story about this night, and I'm going to completely bury Toby here, but he was a cunt, so I don't have a problem with it.
Oh,
So-
yes.
Right,
oh,
yeah.
no, this has
Yeah.
to be told. This has to be told.
We arrive at the venue. We're usually there in good time anyway, but Toby is usually there first, to be fair. He's never normally late. And
Yeah, when
certainly
he
Isaac's
picks me
never
up
late.
on a Sunday, he's normally bang on 5:30 or earlier.
Yeah, he's very timely, that lad. But anyway, he's not there. But then, I don't know, we're maybe there, maybe 20 minutes, half hour.
Yeah.
And Isaac shows up on his own.
Okay.
And Isaac's really pissed off, and he's like, Toby was meant to give me a lift, but he didn't tell me until like 20 minutes before we would normally leave that he wasn't able to because he was taking his girlfriend up.
Right.
Obviously, he had space for two. So Isaac's then jumped in his car and had to drive up there on his own, and still beat Toby there, might I add. So
He still fucking got there
Suppose that's
before
what
Toby,
happens when you're
even at
pissed
that
off.
short
You're
notice.
that
Yeah.
much more ready to drive, shall we say.
yeah, it was a bit of a dick move on Toby's part.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it was quite funny for us. I mean, it would have been easier for Isaac to have jumped in with us if he'd have just
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, if he'd have said something, he could have come
Because we
with
were
us.
leaving from my house at the time, which is on the way from where Isaac lives. So he could have just dropped off at us, and
Easily.
we could have. But there we are. It's one of those things that happen. So that's the funny story from that night. Not so much
Not so
the
much
shopping
the
trolley.
shopping trolley then.
I don't know why that's become folklore. I know there's a picture of it, but we literally just picked it. We didn't steal it. It's pre-stolen.
Get your pre-stolen trolleys here.
I mean, anyone who knows Dudley anyway is a shithole. I mean, the first time we ever played Dudley was at a place called Rock Zombie. And this was years and years ago.
Yeah.
But the venue kept saying, oh, people will be through the door later.
One of those
And it got
places.
to about, 1 or 2 in the morning, and we were finally allowed to go on to play to no one.
Right.
And we then had to go, because obviously it was like a Thursday night. So we all had work in the morning. So we had to
God.
drive through the night and then turn up at work half asleep. But then that place became sort of a hip-hop or grime venue, probably a trap venue. I don't know if that's relevant. Not long after that instead, and it was shut down after somebody was murdered there. So Dudley's a bit of a shithole, is the best way to put it.
Well, now we know.
That's to understate
it's a
it.
bit of a shithole, Dudley. So yeah, it was an alright gig. It was fun to play. The lighting was fucking terrible. I could see nothing in there. It was completely black, and I fucking hate venues who have shit lighting because they assume everyone can see. I can't see.
Not only shit lighting, but you remember that? You know that meme of like the little rug in the corner.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, so where's your stage? Well, that's the
Yeah.
stage. That's the stage.
And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was a
Right.
joke from Flight of the Conchords at some point.
Was it? Okay. Well, the other
Okay.
issue we had is that the lighting was shit. and the sound man, who was perfectly nice, but was super brummy. I'm talking about proper thick brummy.
Not only was he super thick brummy, he was also absolutely wankered.
Wrecked, and he's playing the loudest. I think it was Pantera or something.
God.
He was playing a lot of.
It was Pantera, Slipknot.
So you can hear kind of every other syllable with something, but I'm just going, yeah, mate. It's woo, yeah, whatever, man. Yeah,
impersonation of anyone north of Norwich again.
It's like, what's going on? I don't know. So yeah, it was a fun gig. Promethean were really good, but the shopping trolley isn't the exciting story there. But I do have a bit of excitement in relation to
shopping trolleys?
I bought a new music stand this week because I broke mine at band practice because I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I won't say any more than that. And while buying a music stand, other things appeared that were available to buy. And
this is how it usually goes when you're in a music shop.
No, I wasn't in a music shop. I was on the website, and it kind of it showed me other things.
What sort of
and
other
it showed.
Things?
I bought a fucking smoke machine and a ton of fluid for it.
Yes. That's going to help your eyesight tenfold.
The reason because it lights up and everything. It's one of these it does everything. It could be remote control access from off the stage, or
Does
can
that
be
mean
tapped
that I'll
on the
be
foot
able to
on the stage.
operate it from the merch table for you?
Yeah. So we'll have specific moments in each song where you can press the button and I'm going to buy a lighting rig as well. I'm actually going to go and buy a fucking lighting rig to go with it. So our stage show is going to have a bit of an upgrade.
So that you can see what you're doing.
To celebrate me getting an adult job that pays a living wage, I bought a smoke machine. It's behind me now. I've not tested it yet, but I'm going to have some fun with it at home, obviously, because I could probably freak a few people out in the street if I keep pumping it out. So,
play spooky music.
So,
whilst you're doing
it. Spooky music. Just play the World War II air raid siren and just pump smoke down the road. So yeah, it does lights. It's remote controlled. It's got all the gubbins with it. So yeah, but I also have a music stand as well because I didn't have one on Sunday, so I really needed one because I couldn't remember the lyrics for shit. I had a complete brain fart on 99% of everything.
You made it look so natural though.
What, me fucking up all the songs? Well, that's going to do it all the time. It is natural. So yeah, that's the Dudley Trolley story.
That's exciting with the lighting and stuff. Lee Nelson and Neil Cook have both agreed that Burfest 2020 was excellent, so that's their highlight.
Well, it was. It was probably one of the best gigs we ever did.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
Let us have it again. It was fucking brilliant.
It really was.
I think most of the other people were talking about the Colchester Arts Centre as their highlight, which just speaks for itself, really, doesn't it?
Well, both of those are great venues. They're the type of venues we would like to be playing more often. So yeah. I mean, the Arts Centre thing, I know I bleated on about it, but that 10-year show was really a lot of work. I spent an absolute bloody fortune on promotion for it, and we broke even in the end. It all worked out amazing. We got to give the Crisis lineup a proper send off, and we introduced the new lineup effectively to our bigger fan base at the same time. So the whole thing was a huge success.
I think you had most of the sort of core Kaine fans there for that night.
Pretty much everyone, was there, and it was great. It was the best gig I've ever done in terms of the emotion and the success of it.
Yeah,
because who would have thought, as Phil Bruce put on his review, who would have thought 3 underground metal bands would sell out the Arts Centre in Colchester? Well, it happened. And it shows you can do it if you work hard to do it. And it also shows you how wrong these sort of industry people are that say you can't, because they're just not trying hard enough. They just don't want to put the effort in.
I see that night as a moment that I think the bigger people in the industry should be looking at and shitting themselves, because if a band of Kaine's size can do something like that without the industry backing, without people essentially funding the performance side of things, then they're kind of in hot water, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, but that's the frustrating thing about it, because if we did have funding, we would be able to do that every weekend. We
and
would.
some.
And certainly if I had the resources, I know I keep bleating on about the Patreon and things, but the more people we have on that Patreon, the more chances we actually have of sort of doing this type of stuff. So yeah, it was a huge success, and one of the best nights of my life, really. Although at the time I was stressed because I thought, no one's going to show up, and then this is not going to go right. And obviously the drum kit arrived late, and oh god, and there was issues with personnel, not like personal issues, I think, but Rob from Bryford and Freeman was late getting back to the venue because he got stuck in a traffic jam and things like that. So there was a lot of nightmares going on at the same time. Yeah, and
it is.
Obviously everyone's really excited, and I'm going, I'm happy to see everyone, but at the same time on the inside I'm just fucking thinking, good God, if no one shows up to this.
Yeah, that was. I remember when it was about when we were in the back kitchen area of the arts centre, and me and Toby come out backstage about 10 minutes after the doors have opened, and to already see it full.
It was surreal, wasn't it? It was really fucking surreal.
A surprise, to say the least.
Yeah, it was a magical night, and a lot of people came along who've been friends of the band for a long time, and it was a night for them as well as for us to kind of celebrate everything, and we enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll do it again sometime.
To gain some new fans from something like that as well, because I'm sure there are a good chunk of people that just came to check out. Oh, there's a gig going on at the Colchester Arts Centre tonight. Who is it? I don't know. 3 bands.
Well, there are tons of metal fans in Colchester and the surrounding areas, because we had people come down from places like Ipswich and that as well.
And I know I brought a few people with me from Norwich and slightly further afield as well.
Yeah, so there are people in the area who turn out for those sort of things if it's done right. But there are wrong ways of doing things, and they seem to want to keep doing it in the wrong way. I don't know. Oh dear, I was sick then for some reason.
That would have been a first on this show.
That would have been a first.
There's a story about that. I'm going to get into this. So, you know how the schools used to have like pet rabbits and gerbils and hamsters and that shit? Was that a thing?
It wasn't
when you
at
were
my
kids?
school, but I knew other people that had pets. I don't think they'd have trusted us with a small animal, to be honest.
Well, my senior school was slightly different in that we had a peacock outside in the grounds.
Okay. Where did you go to fucking school? Hogwarts?
No, Passmore's. Very
The opposite,
much less glamorous.
Fuck me. Why have they got... Anyway, I'm not going to even go further on that. I just accept it as a fact now.
We had a peacock.
Yeah.
Used to make a shit ton of noise when we were in class.
They are noisy bastards, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Anyway, we had a hamster. We had other things, but it was the hamster that's relevant to this point. So the teacher in assembly gets the kids to all sort of stand up, and she says, it's been a sad weekend as I can't remember what the fucking thing's name was, but Gummy the hamster is dead.
They die so easily, hamsters. I knew that was going to be the story. I knew it was going to be a dead hamster. Anyway, carry on.
Stuff that as the initial comment. They just die so easily. It's like you've been trying. Anyway.
I think we know what Alex does in his spare time.
so easily.
I was watching a video the other day about it was people sort of discussing how hamsters had died. Like their pet hamsters had died because apparently it's a very common thing for them to die of just absolute bullshit reasons. My partner Fee had a hamster that disappeared, and her mum secretly replaced it without her knowing. She kind of knew anyway because the temperament just completely changed. But it turns out that the hamster had got out of its cage and found its way to the cereal underneath the sink, and it ate itself into a coma and just died immediately from overindulging in shreddies.
Wow. their food.
Jesus.
Anyway,
Back to the story,
so
Ray.
the teacher says, I've got some sad news. Gummy's dead, and I'd obviously been unwell. What's going on? Hello?
Nothing's going
Gummy.
on.
That's a funny name for a hamster.
It wasn't his name. I've just made that up on the fly because I can't remember because this was 1996. So
Right.
bear with me. So anyway, the teacher says, Gummy's dead, and we all stood there. And of course, I'd not been feeling well that morning, and I just turn around and throw up absolutely everywhere. Just completely projectile vomit straight on the floor. And obviously, I was known as being a bit of a class clown, so I was always acting up anyway. So everyone just cheers and starts laughing and clapping me being sick, basically,
Right.
and encouraging me.
That's cruel.
Well, they think it's part of something I'm doing on purpose, as does the teacher, who's like, Mr. Sadler, get out of my classroom. Just sort of, forces me out. I'm like, I'm legitimately unwell here. I hadn't waited for a specific moment for you to tell me the hamster's dead to throw up everywhere. That's not how this works. As good as I am at cheap wind-ups, I'm not that good.
That would be something else if you had.
But I was getting cheered and clapped and whatever else. The kids were loving it because obviously it's just somebody being sick because kids love that anyway, don't they? But the fact that it was the moment that she says that Gummy has passed away. It's everywhere. It's a proper projectile, loud, disgusting pile of
You've just
shit.
eaten Crystal Pepsi.
Yeah, exactly like that. Oh dear, I've just pulled my headphones out for some reason. My chair's all wiggling and biggling around. So yeah, that's my hamster-related fun and games. I don't even know how we got to that, to be honest.
How the fuck did we get to that?
Oh dear, don't let me start talking.
So what have your personal highlights been for the last 3 years then, guys?
I'll let Liam cover some of this because I've kind of waffled on.
My highlights, well, the obvious ones are the, obviously the Arts Centre and Burfest. Like Lee and Neil and all the people who mentioned the Arts Centre as well said they were both amazing days. Burfest was exhausting, I will say that, but an amazing day regardless. But other than that, my highlights are really just the whole process of recording Reforge. I've been in bands since I was a teenager, but this was the first album that I've actually professionally recorded. It was my first time properly recording drums for an album that was going to be released.
Experience for you then.
It was. It's. I've been in the studio before. In fact, the last time I recorded anything semi-professionally, I remember, was my very first band when I was in school. And I recorded the drums on a electric drum kit that had about half a second of lag in our rhythm guitarist's uncle's flat in Barking. So to go from that, but the first time was for Reforge. And so that was, an entirely different ball game to, what
Red
I've
Wall
done,
was
which
a bit
is
of a
essentially
step
just
up
play
then.
live for, and then doing this, doing the same process for the Waystone as well. That was also fun. I was a fan of the Waystone since it came out. It was how I first got to know Rage and the other guys. Was in 2014 in the run up to the Waystone being released, because I heard Iron Lady through of all things, a Facebook ad. This was back when Facebook actually fucking worked. Yeah. Trying to think of other highlights. Obviously, all the fucking bullshit stories have all been covered. I can't really... I can't... It's just...
Well, I think what I will say is, given the circumstances before, because obviously Liam was kind of in a transitional period.
Yeah.
Because initially the plan was to go on with Steve-O and Saxon, Chris decided to leave the band, but we knew that was coming, so I'd already
Yeah.
spoken to Liam way ahead of the game. Liam comes in, rehearses, and then he's in the band, and we then play a gig at the Dev in Camden, which was absolutely rammed. Was that in support of Eliminator?
Yeah, it was Eliminator. Yeah, I got the CD
and
that night.
it was a hot, sweaty gig, and it went really well considering Liam had never played with us before, although he knew the material, so he had a slight advantage. And that went reasonably well, and we did a couple more gigs, I think, at Stamford, maybe, I think we played, and maybe Ipswich.
Yeah, we played the last gig that we did as me, you, Saxon, and Steve-O was Stamford.
And we'd already known at that stage that was coming to an end, because I think the announcement had already come out. So then Steve-O wasn't happy playing without Chris in the band. He'd already told me that, but he said he'd soldier on just because obviously he didn't want to leave us in a lurch. And at the time, I mean, I've said this on the website with the sort of recap, but at the time Saxon was dating an American girl, so his plan was to move there.
Out to Texas,
and
at the time.
He was going to go over there, so he decided to leave the band. So I called Steve-O up and said, you're free to go. And then I called Liam up, and we had the conversation sort of like along the lines of, well, this is dead now, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Put the announcement up on the Kaine website, and I think nothing more of it. I go to bed thinking that's it, we're finished. And that's obviously when Toby messages me first thing in the morning. I didn't know at the time that he got up at like stupid o'clock in the morning, but I now know why he was up at that time messaging me, because that's when he gets up. So he...
You just thought he was really excited about the prospect of joining Kaine.
So excited, he deliberately got up at 5 a.m. just so he could message Rage.
He did everything right in the sense that he got in touch straight away. He bought the discography off of our Bandcamp and had already had his eye on learning the material. So for anyone who wants to join bands, that's kind of a good way to kind of do it. Introduce yourself, be eager, learn the music.
Hit the ground running.
So that was, okay, fine. Can you come Saturday? I think it was Saturday. Yeah, I can come Saturday. So we then had the rehearsal, the tryout. I think we've covered this story when, obviously, we go to play Heaven's Abandonment. Saxon's there still, and so Steve-O at this stage. And the first song is Heaven's Abandonment. We play it, and Toby doesn't play it at all. I'm looking over at Liam, and Liam's looking back, and we're sort of thinking, this is we're fucked, aren't we? Because he's not learned it. And he goes, sort of, in his very Toby-ish way, sort of goes, no, it's fine.
I think, I've got it.
So then we play it again, and he plays it through near perfect. And then from that point onwards, throughout the whole session, it was all, absolutely fine. Personality-wise, he was very reserved, but, you kind of look for that in the sense that if you have a guy who comes along and is talking their own game up straight away... and
you don't want an immediate hit in the face with an ego, do you?
No, you know the type of people. And, I don't work particularly well with those sorts anyway, because they just get on my tits. So, yeah, he was reserved. It seemed like a decent person. So we invited him to join the band. We just sort of casually said as we were packing down, do you know anyone who could play bass? He's like, I've got a mate who could probably play bass. I didn't realise he was in the band with him at the time. So obviously then Isaac then comes the week after, and bosh, we're there. And I'm sort of very thankful to Liam and Toby and Isaac for sort of giving me an opportunity to continue with the band, because it probably wouldn't exist without them. So that's the real highlight of that sort of fortnight period where we were able to kind of put the band back together. And then immediately I wrote a new album and started teaching the guys the new songs in between learning the old songs. So our set was kind of a weird amalgamation of Crisis of Faith stuff, along with new stuff. In fact, we did plan to learn all of Crisis of Faith, but because we started rapidly learning the new stuff, we kind of started songs like Preachers and Alone, and even Stephen's song. I think we got some way through, but we didn't ever get to play them because we'd already moved on to Reforge The Steel at that point. And we threw in a couple of the classics from, Justice and Justice and Iron Lady. We threw into the set just because they're quite easy to learn and people like those songs. So
songs that haven't really been part of the set list properly in some time, really, have they?
No, they hadn't been, but they were popular songs. So we threw them in, And just from there, it was like a roller coaster. We were playing gigs every weekend. We then, towards the end of 2018, we headed up to the studio and started tracking Reforge The Steel, and it just kept going. We're still writing new songs. A couple of the songs that we have written for the new album were about at the time of Reforge The Steel, because we were just pumping out so much material. And all of that just leads into, we've had a few, stinkers in terms of gigs. The one in Swansea wasn't very good. That's probably the worst one. That
was definitely the worst
on
one.
Adam Ellis' suggestion, we played the Stansted skate park, and that was pretty demoralising because no one was there. But funny, it's a story. We played an empty skate park. Who else has played an empty skate park?
I had a lot of fun in that. I just considered it a really nice rehearsal because, one, we could hear everything, and two, it was when was that? Was it? It was August,
yeah,
wasn't it?
Summer. And people were.
So yeah, the middle of summer.
You could hear everything.
And a stone's throw from my house. So
you could hear everything. My amp blew up.
That's very true. It did, didn't it? Yes, it did.
So yeah. Great, but it was those are two real stinkers. We had one in Ipswich where it overran, and we only got to play 2 songs, which was really shit. But they didn't have a handle on good timekeeping. It was really frustrating because that was RAM that night, and people really wanted to see.
It was packed.
I'm disappointed because normally they give a bit of leeway, and I think if they'd have just given us 5 songs, the people would have gone home happy, and they'd come to see. Us play, and weren't able to see the full thing, which is, it does us damage and it does the venue damage when that type of thing happens. But it does happen. Yeah. And unless you've got a council official there breathing down your neck, just kind of get on with it.
I think part of the problem was the miscommunication around it. It wouldn't have been so bad if everybody knew that it was going to be such a strict.
It normally wasn't, and obviously Osmium played an extra song which they wouldn't have done because they thought they had more time.
And I think a talk came on a bit late, didn't they?
Yeah, the whole thing, because the kit was late arriving. It was just a complete cocktail of fuck ups in many respects. So that was another low one. But other than that, gigs have generally been well attended. I got to say that.
Afterwards was pretty fun though.
What was that?
Afterwards was pretty fun, winding up that random bloke in the car.
Well, that was you
do a flip.
That was you winding him up, and I was thinking I'm going to have a fight with this guy because no other bugger's going to fight him. He was kicking off pretty nastily. That was interesting. But yeah, I think for me the 3 years have been 3 of the best years I've had with Kaine, and that's no disrespect to anyone who came before it. We've got a stable lineup. It's the first time the lineup's appeared on back-to-back records, which is an achievement.
That's a big deal in itself, really, isn't it?
Yeah, if you can find, I feel that I've got the right team now with the right personalities who are in it for the right reasons, and I'm very happy with the band. I've never been happier, really, because, like I said, it's no disrespect for anyone previous, but they've all had their own issues in their own lives, which I'm not saying it's not a knock on them. They just do. It's challenges. People have their challenges.
Everyone has busy lives, don't they?
Yeah, and that made keeping up with the band a bit difficult in the end, especially as people got older. So I feel that the team I have now are dedicated to it and are, as excited as I am about the prospects, because we do have a real opportunity to really push this thing forward now. It's taken 3 years to kind of rebuild it. Show the world that we're not just some impersonators, of the previous lineup. This is a new band in many respects, new logo, new aesthetic, new sound, and I'm excited. So the highlight is obviously the formation of the band for me, and the Burfests, and even the 2 times we played the Art Centre have both been great. I've had a great time. I mean, I've really enjoyed it. It's been funny, staying in the shithole hotels. It's hilarious. When you open up a kettle just to find a mouldy old burger inside of it, you can't pay for those sort of memories. So
you kind of have to have a sense of humour about that sort of thing, really, because otherwise it's just going to fucking traumatise you, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no. Sorry, can I just interject there? That's another highlight for me, actually. Speaking of funny stories, was you walking out of the room of the rehearsal studio and coming back in to find the headstock snapped off of your guitar.
Well, again, that's another memory that's funny for everyone else. Not so fun for me, because obviously that guitar is completely out of action. I still need to repair it, but the headstock,
There's a lot of these.
The headstock exploded off the guitar from gently touching the carpet, and I still don't understand why. I still can't.
It was amazing.
that guitar, it was a good guitar, but it was cursed in the start because I bought it, and then about a week later it started getting holes in it, and it had woodworm.
Oh no!
So I had to
that one
to sort of clear out the woodworm, and then the people who I bought it off were like, "Well, you can't prove that woodworm didn't attach itself to, it when you bought it or before it or whatever else." So that was frustrating.
They were trying to blame the worms in your wood when it was probably their wood that was wormy.
Yeah, exactly. But the good thing is they're out of business now, so fuck them. And yeah, so that the headstock fell off. That was quite funny. But we do have lots of fun stories from the last 3 years, and I'm sure there'll be a few more coming up, because that's just generally what happens in this band. Just random stuff happens, and then I get to tell a poorly remembered version of it on this podcast, which is what people want to hear. Really, is me poorly remembering things that happened a week ago.
I feel like that's 50% of what we talk about on this show.
That's real content.
That's
real content. So, yeah, the whole thing has been a highlight for me in terms of the history of Kaine. And I said I hope we have a few more years. And, we're only a couple of years off our 15-year show. Think of that.
Oh, that's going to be big.
It only feels like yesterday that we did the 10-year show.
Yeah, it was fucking 2 years ago now. So, we've got a 15-year show coming up. Oh,
3
dear.
years to get ready for it.
Yeah, hopefully we can play in 3 years' time.
What does the future look like for you guys then? What are you hoping to do in these next, let's say, 3 years?
Well, I'd like to tour again. I really want to tour again. I'd like to play some, festivals. I'd like to play in Europe.
Yeah.
I'd like to play something like Wacken. I know it sounds unrealistic, but that would be a dream come true for me. So the ambition is to go as high as we can possibly take the band.
Yeah.
We're realistic. The band doesn't lose money in the same way it used to. We can afford to run it as what it's doing. We've invested in management. We'll see what happens. I'm excited.
Hopefully the management will be the thing that kind of, kicks us to that level where we start playing some bigger shows. Maybe a tour. I'd love to do a tour. I love the prospect of just waiting around in various different parts of the country.
It would be great to get back to that.
Because that's essentially all touring is waiting around until you get to play.
People that look like Rolf Harris on the side of the road.
Do you know what was great about that? Yeah, that was me. Wasn't it like a Winnebago type thing that he was riding as well?
Yeah, he had like a proper caravan that he was driving along in.
And obviously we're laughing it up, going, "Wee, it's Rolf Harris," and then the fucker pulls in behind us at the fucking service station.
And we saw him go past.
Yeah, it's like he didn't say anything, but we were harassing him pretty badly. It could have been Rolf Harris. I don't think it was, because I think he was in prison at the time. But yeah, I
think if he wasn't in prison, he was certainly in court.
Yeah, I think he was in prison at that stage. I think he definitely was. I mean, that Scotland tour was fun and games.
Entirely.
Just madness.
I think my personal highlight from that tour was when you were trying to put Steve to bed.
Yeah.
And
not just pick him up.
He just kept getting up again and saying goodnight to us all again. And you just picked him up over your shoulder and fireman carried him over into the other room and just dumped him on the bed.
What's... Give me some context here, because I don't know about
this.
We
played Glasgow. Yeah, we played Glasgow, the Ivory Blacks, that night, and we stayed at Dave Ritchie's house, who he ran Wildfire Festival, and he had a supply of.
Well, he had sponsorship, didn't he, from Monster Energy and from Jägermeister? So we were just having Jaeger bombs all night.
That's it.
Ooh,
yeah. And so he was completely shit-faced, and he was frankly getting to the point where I wanted to go to sleep, and he was keeping me up. So I just picked him up and took him to bed. Yeah. So I had to pick him up and put him there, Steve-O, just go to fucking bed. And then the whole night was a nightmare, because you got Chris fidgeting away in the corner. You were snoring your tits off.
I was snoring my arse off.
Chris was throwing shoes at you.
I thought it was Saxon. I was covered in Saxon shoes, so I thought it was him.
It wasn't. It was Chris who was chucking shoes at you. I should know that because I was up all fucking night.
Right.
And we played Edinburgh that day as well, so I was completely dead, you know. And we obviously, funny enough, this is another ghost story, and it's the fact we stayed in the Bannerman's upstairs room, which was infamously trashed.
Was it Chris or Steve that was scared to stay in the haunted room?
Oh, that was Chris, and he thought he was being pursued by ghosts all night. But I had a bit of a weird experience because I think you and I, didn't we share the same room?
We did, and there was that orb.
Yeah, it was a bit weird, but I was so tired from the fact that I hadn't slept the night before, I couldn't give a toss. And I remember thinking that someone was trying to strangle me in the night, and I was just like, fuck off. I just want to go to sleep. Just fuck off. I don't care. I just don't give a fuck. You can't kill me. You're a ghost. You're already dead. So I was so pissed off. And I think Andrew Halliday was in the other room. It was, but Turns out the ghost was Andrew Halliday all along.
He was trying to night choke me, the bastard. He was trying to do a David Ellison sorry, I didn't even get out. David Ellison does to his penis in front of teenage girls. But that isn't funny, by the way, folks. That's a horrible thing to have done. But, you know, I'm trying to keep it culturally relevant for the time period. Thank you very much for listening to this week's show.
Yeah, it's been a blast. Lesson learned, kids. Don't get your knob out on the PC. To anyone of any age, just don't do it. That way you won't get in trouble.
Liam?
What?
Are you zoning out again to protect yourself?
No.
You can't hide from my bullshit. It will find you.
I didn't really have anything to say to that other than just laugh to myself.
Well, it's true though, isn't it? If you don't get your knob out on camera, you can't go.
Just don't do it.
You don't get in too much trouble for it. So Dave Jr.
It does save you some effort.
Dave Jr.'s got himself into some hot water with his online antics. I told you guys about it before we were on the air. So someone was comparing Dave Ellison's, on-screen masturbation to the Marilyn Manson sort of rape accusations and saying they were basically the same thing. And Dave Ellison jumped on himself. I think it was on Loudwire or Metal Sucks or whatever, whichever one it was, to actually say, come on, I got my knob out on camera. This guy's rapes people. There is no comparison. And I think that was a fair comment.
Yeah.
Pretty fair.
I just think it's funny he's responding himself. He's reading all this crap people are saying about him.
Well, it's nice to know that he doesn't have a PR team behind him telling him to keep quiet at all costs.
Yeah, telling him to keep quiet and wait for it to blow over, which is what PR teams usually do.
If he had a PR team, do you think the whole knob on the camera situation would have occurred?
I don't know, it is the age of the internet.
Someone might have said...
I feel like there's not really an awful lot of stuff that a PR company is going to be able to do in order to stop a 50-year-old man from getting a bit horny online.
That's pretty standard, isn't it, really? That's why porn exists. But, yeah, that's it. That's me for this week. We'll leave it on that really positive, uplifting note. Don't get your knob out online.
Where we'll be discussing the metric system and reviewing yogurts by texture. I've been Alex Odinson. Until next time, have a good one.
And fuck that metric system.